What is up, YouTube? Today we're gonna kind of do some builds because a lot of people are still having trouble with the stubby. But I'm gonna be doing build on it. Probably gonna be doing a couple of builds. I couldn't do a live because like new setting, like I don't have access to it until for a couple more days for some reason. Like my account got locked down for live streams because I was gonna do it in live. That way people weren't like, "Oh no, you're still getting dry hits. That's why I do a video." I was gonna do it, show you in real life time, like how I do it, because I've never actually got a dry hit off the stubby until I used like Canthal the other day because of the slow ramp up of Canthal. Like Nichrome ramps up faster, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make some of my own coils, which I have some 22 gauge Canthal, and it just ramp up so slow. Canthal it does, like it just by the time it got to a nice warm hit, it was already dry hitting because it pulls so much juice up that wasn't even worth it. So today we're gonna kind of take a look at it, do a little bit of a build on it. We're going to be sitting here recording for a minute. So, loving the new camera. So, bear with me. I know you can kind of see what we got going on here. So, we got the stubby. All the little parts for it. So, basically, when you got your stubby here. Alright. Got your tank that goes in. You got your screen. You got your battery compartment. Cool thing about the stubby too is actually if you ever, like your chipboard starts not working, like you can hop on for, I think it's like 40, 50 bucks. Don't quote me on the price. I also can't call it websites, but you can get them on basically the website that, makes this. Vapors Cloud has usually some pretty good prices, but literally all you do is just take these 4 screws out, pull the whole chipboard out, put a new one in. It's a wireless chipboard, so you don't have to disconnect anything. So that's a cool thing that I really like about the stubby. I'm not sure how I feel about, like, say, the steel posts yet. A lot of people say they really don't do much. But see, every time I wick mine, like these posts, I got these posts like just yanking juice up constantly. So, but there's not a lot of videos on the stubby. It's just there's a lot of videos of like showing the stubby off, like not literally how to sit here, tear this whole thing apart, put it together correctly. And for people that are actually dry hitting, 9 times out of 10, it's mostly the wicking. Not, because of the bars or the juice that you got, or say the coil that you got in there. Sometimes a coil placement, because you don't want to go past like a certain point in the top cap right here. So it's kind of one of them things that's kind of a hit and miss with it. So, but we forgot one thing, so I'll be right back. I get thirsty pretty easy, so I wanted my drink. So I said I'm trying to do stuff in like real time, kind of like a raw video. But since I can't do like a live, so we're gonna do this. So basically, you got your tank, your little port fill there. You got your little cap that'll sit on top of it. All that. You got 2 little screws that also sit right inside of here too. Like legitly, that one's not big enough or small enough. So right inside of there, there's 2 little ports, and of course the camera's not gonna focus. There we go. Them 2 little holes next to the post. So you got 2 little screws that sit on that, and what them sit on is the little holes that are on this, which technically, basically, if you look at it, this is the bridge that sits inside of the tank. So like if you've ever messed with like say the Aether Boro or any of that, them are bridges. So that's technically their bridge. So we're gonna go ahead and put this together. And one thing that you got to remember when you put it together too is you got your fill port here. So your little airflow port too, you also want on the front. So you want that airflow port to be out facing this way, because if you got it facing the other way and you go to stick it inside of the stubby, you're either going to have this to the back or you're going to have the airflow to the back and not have any airflow. So, but we'll also, before we put that together, now that I remember, this little piece right here, once you unscrew the screws, pops off. Okay, that pops out right there. And inside of that little spot there, inside that little hole, is where your airflow pins go. The little circle air pins. I took mine completely out because I like mine kind of wide open on this, but it goes all the way down to like, I want to say like 1.5 on the size, and it's pretty MTL basically. Like the new Stubby 21 actually has an MTL kit you can buy with the Stubby tank, which is actually fairly nice. Now they're a pain in the butt to actually put them in. So basically when you want to change the airflow up, that's actually how you do it, is just that right there. So you're going to take that post out, in which this screw that's on the bottom of this, on your bridge that goes inside the tank, this unscrews and undoes the screw that's in there, okay, which actually holds that post in, this post here, into there. Okay, so underneath of that post that sits in there, like I said, mine is out, so you would put your airflow pin in right there, and then you would take your post and put it back on, as you can see. So now you got the stubby post back together. And what that screw does on the bottom of this bridge part is it screws into this and holds this post back down. That's where your airflow pin sits, just so you know. And it is kind of a pain to get it out. They don't give you a tool, but I got some fingernail clippers. Actually, I had a pair of tweezers that had like a small enough little like spot right here. I kind of laid it down in there and kind of just loosened her up and was able just to get it out of there pretty easily. Actually, we're not trying to actually show the Coke symbol because don't know what YouTube's gonna say about it. Need to get me just like a glass to sit here and drink with. But all right, we're gonna go ahead and put this together. Now remember, fill port, airflow hole. You want them to sit just like that. Now the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to screw that bottom post in. That way everything stays together. So let's see. Grab the screwdriver. Make sure everything's lined up. Post is up in here, lined up in there. Because we just washed her, so she had some pretty minty juice in there. Of course, right now it's being a pain in the butt. You want to make sure that your metal posts too, like your stainless steel cables that are in there for your wicking, are at a kind of a good spot too on the top. You know, once we get to wicking. The only thing that sucks about the screw on the bottom is I've undone it so many times and unscrewed it so many times now that probably within the next, I don't know, 4 or 5 months of sitting here doing this, as you can see, it's kind of aided up a little bit, you know, at the bottom piece right in here. It's aided up a little, so the camera's not gonna focus on it because it's something shiny. Oh, there we go, a little bit, but it's aided up a little bit. And I don't know if we can just hop online and order a new screw that goes up, because that screw goes all the way through that whole middle post. So Got to figure that out for sure. Alright, so we're going to take the ohm meter, we're going to put that on there. I'm not going to do a Canthal coil, so I'm not going to make one for this, because I want this to kind of fire up fast. So I don't have any twisteds either, so we're going to have to take and kind of take a coil and take a wrap out of a coil, or put a wrap into it. Alright, then we're all up in there. And then we got to put these tiny screws back in them 2 little holes that I'd shown you. So this is going to be a little fun, because this can be kind of a pain, because you got to get them just right. Alright, got that one in. On to the next one. And got it. Alright. See, the stubby's a great mod. It really is. A lot of people have trouble with the flavor muting, which there for a couple of times when I first got it, this thing would mute quite a bit. And that has to do with your wicking. I've noticed once you take all them hot spots out too, because it was prone to hot spots, take all them hot spots on out of there, and you wick it just right, like inside the middle of your coil where you would get hot spots. You want a wick that's just nice and just fat and bulky and just thick as could be. But then on the outside here, where the stainless steel cables are at, you want it actually as thin as you possibly could, and just barely actually touching them posts. Like I still do it to where they're touching the post actually quite well. Like I keep a nice piece of cotton in there, like a nice long piece, but I thin it out quite well. And I've never had no problem at all with my cotton going dry. So now we just got to pick some coils, which I've got some demons or some rad rabbits. What's it go with? I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of coils, so this is kind of a pain to pick from. Let's go with some demon killer coils. We're gonna go with I'm gonna put a flat twisted Clapton in. Which should be, if we do it just right, should ohm back out at about 3.5 to 3.6 ohms. Should. So we're taking a wrap out basically, since it's a regular coil. I mean, well, technically you're taking like a half wrap out, which isn't bad. Just put it on a little screwdriver and ends up just doing that. You know, don't force it to do anything, because you don't want the whole coil to unravel. So, and if you got a jig, you know, then just put it on, you know, put the right thing on there, which this is a 3.5 post, so this is probably a 3mm coil. So, but just literally unravel just one, and you ain't got to go all the way unraveling it like that either. So, but we're gonna get this in here just like so. And see, we got it sitting in there just like that. Looking pretty so far. And we're just gonna move her this way a little bit and screw it down. See, this, as I said, this thing's so easy to build on. You can't put like no crazy builds in here. I've tried. Here recently I put like a 10 wrap alien coil in there. Like it actually fit, weirdly enough, but it barely fit. Like it sat down to the airflow port, the airflow hole down there, and it sat just underneath of the tip of the chimney on here too, with a 10 wrap alien coil. It was crazy. It still fired though too, and there was still flavor. There was still all of that. Like it was nuts. I was surprised that it actually worked. I don't suggest it. It's definitely not made for the bigger crazy coils. So all right, and so far got her setting perfectly right where I want her, as you can see, setting just like that. Right there in the middle. Gonna move her over to the one side a little bit more, but yeah, you don't have to go all crazy inside of this. Just straight in the middle. You know, a lot of people actually take the coil up quite a bit with it. But you ain't got to do that either. This one we're going to go up a little bit because this one is kind of a bigger size. So we're going to go up just a tiny bit. Let's see. Nope, still not perfectly sitting in the middle. And we almost are now. So now we're going to go back down just a little bit. Perfect. All right, wire cutters. Snip the little ends off, and when you're snipping these ends off too, you want to get as close as you possibly can, no matter what. And I legitly mean no matter what. Because if you don't, and you actually end up having some sticking out, this cap right here will actually catch the coil. And as you can see, we've got the coil sitting just a little too high because the coil is right at the top of the hole. So we actually got to take it down just a little bit. And see what we're gonna do is actually we're gonna take it down kind of a nice amount. That way we keep that coil nice and straight. Because this Clapton, this one for some reason is kind of very springy. It's not a firm one. So we're going to put it just like that. Just barely above the posts. Actually, it is perfect like that. Just barely above the post. Setting her right in the middle. Just barely above the post a little bit. And that way when you throw your cap on, the coil is right there, but not all the way up there that's going to get in the way of, like, say, the flush nut that goes on the top right there. Or, you know, anything. Like, you don't want the coil to be in the way. Alright, so now we are going to put a piece of We're gonna do some organic cotton actually. Get a nice little chunk off here so we can kind of work with that a little bit. I've got like 4 or 5 different bags of cotton down here. Got some flavored cotton I tried for a video, which is, I don't suggest it. And the regular good old prime bacon that everybody knows. But you don't need a big piece because, I mean, obviously it's not that big of a tank. So we're going to take this, and this organic cotton here is very fluffy, just pulls right apart consistently. And it's held the best flavor I've had. So around here in my parts, it's only like $4 a bag here too. So that's actually a plus. I'm gonna go ahead and twist the one end, get her on there. And like I said with this one, you want the cotton to be nice and tight right there in that middle right there. So no hot spots. You know, you want it to be as tight as you can get it right there in that middle. Which should be fine, like right about there. So you just do the all good tugging back and forth, and she's pretty well whipped up in there. So alright, now what we're gonna do is what I always do is I don't ever cut to the edge there. Cut a little bit out. Same thing on this side, we're gonna cut a little bit out. That way we can adjust if we need to. So I'm gonna get, actually, I've got so many tools sitting over here. We're gonna get like a fine set of tweezers right here and kind of thin her out real nicely. Make sure you get underneath the sides. If you feel any knots in there, kind of get the knots out. And that's why I always cut a little bit longer, because you're gonna fluff all this out. So you're gonna end up cutting some off, and then you don't want to cut it too short and then have to re-wick it again. And, you know, it gets annoying. See, nice and fluffed out. So then we're going to come back through and we're going to clean her up some. And see, on this one, what I like to do is cut a little bit of the corners off right there. That way you ain't got a lot in the middle of when you're placing, you know, your cotton. Now we're gonna trim a little bit until it kind of looks like it's decent to sit some cotton right there in them posts. Because like I said, you don't want too much, but you also don't want too little, because you want flavor, but you also don't want a dry hit. So we're gonna go with the juice that actually my local vape store makes themselves, which is a mint chocolate coffee. And I found this is actually the easiest way to do this. We can just kind of drip some on here. Let me go get a couple paper towels just in case we need them. I'm pretty sure we will. Always making a mess, so I mean that's part of the vape game, you know. You're gonna always make a mess. You're always gonna over drip your, you know, all that shit. So all right, we're gonna cut a little bit more off now, since I kind of see where my ends are at. And if you've got to and it looks too much on top, you can come right up in there and trim a little off the top like that too. That way you've kind of got that bottom fluff that kind of just, that you're gonna place, you know, because this is more of like a placing kind of. You're not putting the cotton in anything, you're just placing the cotton. And I found if you run your juice kind of right here in the middle, a few drops here and there to kind of get her juiced up to place your cotton instead of back and forth across the cotton making a mess, is actually a lot better. It takes some time, but you know, in the long run of juicing it up, your middle of your coil also gets, you know, juiced up too, so you shouldn't dry head it, you know. Alright, so we're gonna work this over a little bit more. So what you do, like I said, is it's just a placement. You're just gonna place it right in that little position right there where them steel cables are at. So you're kind of just pushing the cotton on over there. So get her kind of wet. And just place your cotton over there. That's all you do. Just place your cotton. And, you know, and some people would actually say that's a lot of cotton, but it's actually not, because remember, I cut the top of it off. So same thing with this one. We're gonna come in and kind of right up at the top, we're gonna trim some of this off. So then legitimately the only cotton that you got is going to be that big old piece in the middle, and then just that little feathery type cotton that's going to be sitting right on them posts. So when you go to push it on over there, you should actually have it in a perfect spot, perfectly wicked, nice and thick in the middle on the coil, but nice and thin on the outside. That way your juice keeps flowing. So now we're going to go ahead and trim up the end to where it actually needs to be, since the top's now trimmed up. Throw a couple more dabs of juice on here. Get this side kind of wetted up now. Come on over. And what you see me doing when I'm folding it around is kind of helping the juice kind of get in there. And see, that's why I cut off my corners, because then you get like that corner that sits there just like that one. So we're going to take a little bit of that corner off. So we're going to push that over and just let her sit right on top of them wicks, them stainless steel cable wicks. And that side actually turned out a lot better. So you want your coil or your cotton to actually kind of look like that. So you ain't got a lot on top, you ain't got a lot on the sides, but just enough to sit inside of that little port right there where your stainless steel cables are at. but enough inside the middle here to where it's not going to dry it. So you want a lot in the middle here, but on the sides here, as little as you possibly can, but also enough to where you're going to have it kind of hanging down into there on them cables, so it's constantly juicing. Alright, so since we got that, we're going to turn the ohm reader on. So actually we're sitting at about 0.5 ohms even. That actually is nice, even though the coils are 0.6 or 0.36 ohms. But also, we took a wrap out of it though too, so. Alright, so now we're gonna sit here and throw some more juice in her a little bit. That way we know she's really juiced up, and when we throw it in there, she's not going to be like dry, almost like if you're putting a pre-made coil inside of a sub-ohm tank without, you know, pre-wetting it. You're going to get that burnt taste, and you know, you always want to make sure you're doing the same thing with an RDTA or an RDA. And that's the thing with the stubby. The tank isn't an RDA, it's not an RTA, it's an RDTA. So, and there's also a big difference between a lot of the tanks, like this one here, which I was going to take it off. This is an RDA. So you got RDAs, RTAs, RDTAs, RBAs, which we don't really mess with RBAs that much anymore. I do have a couple, but TFV18, the RBA that goes inside of that sub-ohm tank, that converter you can get, that actually makes that sub-ohm tank amazing. I do have a video up on that too, kind of showing that off a little bit. Go ahead and check that out if you're interested in still having a sub-ohm tank, but something to build on. And it's a fairly simple build. It's only one coil, just, and actually fairly nice amount of cotton that you can stick in it too. So, and when I used the TFV18 and put the RBA converter inside of it, it made that tank amazing tasting, because you can put your own Claptons inside of there, your own organic cotton, instead of going and buying pre-made stuff. You still got a sub-ohm tank, but with your own shit in it. So like it come in pretty handy. And another cool little thing that a lot of people don't know about this cap, okay, the reason why it actually has this indent on each side is actually when you actually look inside how it has the indent there. What it actually does to that cotton is it actually pushes the cotton down no matter where you have it placed. Like, so we'll put it down there, okay, and then we'll take it back off and see, flatten the top of the cotton a little bit. It does. So it actually helps pushes the cotton down a little bit, and my cotton's actually very well juiced up too. All right, as you can see, that's pretty well juiced. Like, she's nice and shining, she's wet as could be. So we shouldn't have a problem at all. So we're gonna throw that cap on there. Everything's juiced up, still sitting at 0.5 ohms. Alright, so now what we do, slap her on in there, do a little cleaning up. These stubbies are fingerprint magnets. Alright, airflow hole and juice fill hole pointing out. Take your flush nut, put that up top. I'm just going to grab this nickel I got over here, get her turned on there. I don't have the regular drip tip for it sitting out. I had it sitting out. I don't know where I just put it at though. But that's on there now. Alright, so we slap front faceplate on. I'm going to slap that on right quick. Let's see, we're actually going to throw this battery in here. 2500 milliamp, 35 amp. It's a high drain rechargeable battery. I kind of like the high drain in here. Like, it actually hits fairly well. But also the Molicel P28s that I have inside of my mech mod actually work wonders inside the stubby too. Let's see. So actually we'll throw this jib tip on for just a quick second. So that is the stubby, all built, put together. And see, we're sitting at 0.45 ohms on that actually. So 0.45 ohms, and I love the screen on this thing. Like it's just amazing. See, we'll put that at 40 watts then. Whoo, she hit fast and hot and hard. Holy. So there's one hit. Still pretty well juiced up. That juice that I got though, she is a strong juice because of the coffee. Still juiced up. Just like the first hit. Still very well juiced. Coffee flavor strong in it though. The only thing that I don't like about this drip tip though is this drip tip's restricted. So we're gonna bump it up some knots, see what we can kind of go to. $50 watts. Great flavor off that hit actually, and still juiced up. You know, we're on 4 hits, 5 hits. And a lot of people are actually having a problem. Once they get to like 4 hits, it's completely dried out. And it's just literally you're wicking. That's just all there is. Make sure you thin it out only on them stainless steel cables, but a nice tight thick wick inside the middle. Everything else can be as thin as it can be, just as long as it's sitting on that cable. Okay, so still fairly well juiced up, so we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna actually fill her up. But with what's inside, I like doing a little mixture of some Silverback, the Jenny. We're actually gonna put that in here. And then we're gonna put a dash of the coffee in there. They definitely could have made it easier to fill this thing. I make a mess with this thing constantly, so. Alright, so we got it about half full with that. We're going to throw a dash of this coffee up in there, because the mint inside of that's pretty good. Doesn't take long to fill it up once you actually get your juice going and get it, you know, like I always, on my bottle of juice too, for little things like this, I always squeeze from one side, that way I get like one little spot that's a soft spot, so it's so much easier to drip with, fill a tank with, fill a stubby tank with, all of that. So, but filled up, let's keep it. Getting them nice little crackles on it too. Nice flavor. Still getting nice flavor. And see, now I'm starting to pull up from the stainless steel cables because I could taste both of the juices. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like when it comes to the wicking, you guys just gotta do your wicking a little bit different. So keep it nice and thin over there so it's constantly juicing. So, because this thing it's as you can see, like I now taste the Jenny and it, so I'm already constantly juicing. So, and it's a great mod too for like if you're on the go, because the tank is 8 milliliters, I think, or 8.5. It's a big tank. And the cool thing about the stubby is too, you have the adapter, so if you don't want that big of a tank because you get bored of juices, which I got a buddy that actually does, he gets bored fairly easy of juices, switches in and out of them all day. You can put that adapter in and put a smaller, you know, like Boro tank inside of there, say like the Aether, which has got amazing setup, airflow, flavor, all of that you could do. So, but they're amazing little things, and the 21s are just a little bit bigger too, with the same size tank inside of them, and they're as good too. Yeah, we're going good on that one. All right, so the next one that we're actually going to be checking out is one that I love because of the looks on it. And this one we're going to put on a stick mod, though, because any other time that I put it on even a regulated mod or a mech mod, it dry fires constantly. And it is actually, the drip tip that's on the stubby actually goes to this, though. This thing is beautiful as could be. And here, I'll put that drip tip on so you can kind of take a look. This is called the El Diablo, which I do have a video of. I mean, look at that craftsmanship all the way around. This thing is just gorgeous. But there's so many pieces of plastic on it. You know, it's Memphis, says El Diablo on it. Like, it's got a heat insulator in here, it's got a heat insulator there, and it's got a heat insulator on the bottom. There's just so much going on. So when you build on this big ass build on the inside, no matter what I put it on, it dry hits. And I put it on a mech mod sitting even at 0.6 ohms, and it caught on fire. Like, for some reason this thing cannot handle sitting on a mech mod or anything high powered for some reason. And this is an old school authentic too. So we're going to do a single coil build on this, and kind of see what's up with it. And actually we're going to throw an alien coil inside of here to make that a little bit easier. Just a little 4-wrap alien coil. It's got a decent sized juice well. Kind of a pain in the butt with these screws though, the way they are. Flathead screws, I don't like them. And they're kind of a pain to build with. I don't mind the grub screws. I like the grub screws and the Phillips screws that a lot more of the companies do instead of these giant flatheads. I'm not coordinating enough to do this, so as you can see. Alright, so now we're going to straighten this out a little bit. It's heating up, but not the best. So, grab the ceramic tweezers and get these hot spots out right quick. Alright. Looks like we're heating up from the inside out perfectly now. Now that she's nice and warm, we can adjust it a little bit more. And once you warm a coil up too, you can adjust them a little bit easier because it kind of takes the bend, the little springiness, it takes the springiness out of them a little bit. So if you actually got coils that are a little too springy, you can get a light blowtorch lighters and kind of just sit there and go like that back and forth on the wire, and it'll actually take the springiness out of it once you actually heat it up enough. See, now we're heating up from the outside in on it. All right. tighten her down the rest of the way. These coils I've already ohmed out because I have little tools to ohm them. These ones are sitting at like 0.45 ohms. That coil shot off. Still heating up pretty good. So we're going to take that other piece of cotton, actually of that organic that we used in the stubby, and we're going to use that on here. This one though is made at like a 3.5 millimeter, so we don't need a lot to go through because this is actually kind of a smaller one. These alien coils too are actually pretty good. This is also Demon Killer wire, which is good. Like, tastes amazing. I've done a lot of stuff with Demon Killer stuff lately, and it's turned out fairly well actually for flavor, for coil build. The only thing that sucks is like alien wire is so thick. It's a pain in the ass to build somewhat because it's so flat and so stiff. But for one roll of, I think, like 15 foot, and I bought it off Amazon, which YouTube would probably say something about me saying something about Amazon, but I mean, come on now. Everybody shops on Amazon, so literally you can look up alien wire, Demon Killer wire, and for 15 foot for I think like $12 or $13 it was, I ended up making like 45 coils that were, I made some that were 7 wrap, 6 wrap, 5 wrap, 4 wrap, and as you can see I've still got a pretty good amount of the 4 wraps left, but I ended up making like 45 coils. I haven't had to buy any coils or any of that until actually here recently, so it lasted me probably 2-3 months, if not a little bit longer. And see, with the wicking on a deck like this, what I have found actually what we're gonna do is take a nice set of tweezers, and we're gonna take the cotton, and you're not gonna push it up under, like just push it in, because you choke your stuff off at that point. We're gonna kind of come out to the front and go underneath of the coil and place it in there. See, when you're wicking stuff, it's all about placing and placements. Once you get your placements down, you are good to go. And see, since the coil over here sits more over this way, what I like to do is actually cut more off of that side, because you're going to have more cotton from the other side than what you are on this side. Because on these type of decks, since you got to put one post here, one post there for your legs of your coil is going to sit over here a little bit more. So you don't need a lot of cotton over here, just a little bit, because you're going to get more cotton from the other side than what you are this side. So I'm going to swoop that on underneath there just like that. And that little bit of cotton right there, we'll probably end up just go ahead and snipping that off on that little corner, you know, that's sticking out, because we ain't gonna need it. Because you're gonna have enough. Alright, so now we're going to take and juice her up. She's juicing up nicely on this alien coil too. See, I think that's all this El Diablo needed, was just a good stick mod. Something that had power but doesn't have too much power, And this is a print stick, which print sticks are like 80 watts. They're not like the Freemax twisters to where you could sit there and adjust the wattage on them. Which the Freemax twisters, I've yet to actually find a website they have them in stock, because I actually want to do a review on them, because it's a stick mod with a Fire Loop 2 that you can adjust the wattage of the stick mod there too at the bottom, like it turns. So it's actually pretty cool. Hopefully the vape game though stops doing like a lot of what it's doing in other states though too, people banning stuff because of kids and all that. Like here in Michigan, if you're not 21, you're not supposed to be going into the stores and buying it anyways, or you know, that was been a law that was passed. I mean, but then the thing that keeps killing it is kids because of the flavors. Well, the stores need to start carding, and parents just need to quit buying vape stuff for their kids. If they ain't of age, quit fucking it up for everybody else. That's just all there is to it. This is something that's for adults anyways. It has to do with smoking. So why are the adults, why? Leave it the fuck alone and let us do our thing, because your kid and you buying your kid vape shit is what's fucking it up, to where government's got to step in and be like, all right, since the kids like this, you know, they keep getting their fucking hands on it. Nope, now we got to shut that shit down. That fucks it over for us. You know, that shit's got to stop. But here she is, all wicked up, ready to fucking go. Let's try her out. And with the airflow, it's kind of like the Goon and all the old school ones. You set it on single, or with the other holes, you can put it on dual coil. Since obviously we only have one coil in there, we're going to leave it on the one airflow. See, now that El Diablo with the print stick is actually, it's what it needed, was a stick mod, you know, to make it look beautiful as could be, and to actually make it hit very well. It's got such good craftsmanship on that. Good flavor, good cloudage. Not bad at all. That on a print stick is actually fairly good. Still nothing like this big beast though, because this thing just is nuts. I'm not going to build on this because I actually just built on it a couple of days ago, but I'll show you the build that I put on there. These are 2 coils that I made out of the Kanthal wire at 15 wraps a piece. There's 15 of them. Just big old things. Just massive. It is. And this is just the V2 30 millimeter. And I still have enough room after doing 15 wraps to where I had to take the legs and still, on the coil, just push them out just a tiny bit more, to where I probably could have done a 16 to 17 wrap with a 22 gauge at 3.5 millimeter in the diameter on the inside of the middle, and still probably did 16 to 17 wraps and still had enough room to perfectly set it inside the build deck on that. And Valhalla is just a beast. Clouding her up on in here now. Alright, now back to the stubby. Still hitting perfectly. Probably go up more wattage on that actually. I mean, let's try. So we'll go up to 60 watts. That was still a pretty good hit, actually. That one got hot. Not dry hit, but oh, that hit was hot. So we'll keep that down at like 55. That coil's firing pretty fast, but go ahead and pop that on out right quick. And we'll kind of do that quick. No, flush nut's still on it. And look at that, still juiced. Still juiced up. So I say it's literally just about your wicking, the placement of the wicking. So I'm gonna check that, see, stainless steel cables actually are perfectly set. And that's what I was talking about, that cap does. It kind of flattens it right there and pushes your wick down. So yeah, even pushing on that, there's a lot of juice coming out of it. Like, it's pretty well juiced up and wicked up. Ran through quite a bit of juice on it already too. Oh, what am I doing? Let's put that cap back on there. Throw this back in there. Put this flush nut back in. There's all sorts of now panels that you can get for this thing, buttons. You can now customize the shit out of these things, which I think is actually cool. It's kind of what we asked for when they first started coming out too, because I like the Agent Orange. The purple one's like fairly badass looking. Just amazing flavor still, consistently. Hitting like a champ. I'm not losing any flavor. I'm not dry hitting. I'm not doing any of that. And see, I've done a lot of builds too. As you can see back there, I've got a lot of RDAs that are sitting back there and a lot of mods sitting back there. The one box has got probably 30 sub-ohm tanks. Up top on the bigger, blacker box, there's probably a good 20 to 30 mods or RDAs just sitting around up there. Going back from like Trolls to Buddha, all the way back, all the way up until now, kind of like RDAs, sub-ohms, RDAs, RTAs. Like I've even got the fancier UL, which is an RDTA kind of thing, and you could switch it from being an RTA to an RDA. It's just about your wick placement. It really is. Still, just that as flavorful as could be. Not much else I can build on. I mean, I do have a few things. I've got one that's kind of got me stumped at the moment. It's called a Sig Green VX, or Sig Green X V3. It's kind of a weird mod, so if anybody's ever built on this, hit me up and let me know, because I'm not really sure how to build on it. I tried to put one inside of here, but I think I did it wrong. It's a very weird thing. It's like the old school Mad Hatter, how the Mad Hatter cap actually flipped open, but this whole base on this flips open instead of the hat, which I do have a build on it, but I think I built it wrong because my cotton is kind of like stuffed in there. and no matter what I used to hit with this thing, as you can see, it was fully juiced up, and she's just dried right out, just like set right on fire, and it's sitting at 0.15 ohm, and I had it on a regulated mod, not a mech mod. Put it on a regulated, and it's still just hot spots all to hell, and even shot like this little tiny fireball up and out too. Like, it was weird. But that's how you build on the stubby. Like, if you're really wondering, like, I do have videos on it already, but this is more of an in-depth, long kind of video for it. Still got a lot of flavor. It's not muting, it's not dry hitting. You know, and another thing with flavors muting that people don't realize, if you're a good vapor and you're vaping all day, and I legitimately mean all day, you do get this thing called vapor's tongue, to where, like, not, you'll still get flavor from juices, but not as much because you're consistently vaping. But, you know, there's a few ways around it. Drink some coffee, hydrate yourself constantly. That way your taste buds don't, like, you know, die, basically. That's just all it is. Like, keep yourself hydrated, drink some coffee even, because the coffee keeps the taste buds going. Like, coffee grounds also do too. You can sit there and kind of sniff them a little bit. Definitely keep some water. Like, if you're vaping and you're not a water fan, still drink at least a bottle of water, a little bit, a few sips here and there while you're vaping throughout the whole day. That way the vapor's tongue doesn't set in, and then you're not tasting any flavor, you know, because the old lady, she does breezes, and they got so much sugar content inside of them no matter what. I mean, the flavor to me sometimes is even muted on them, because I get consistently vaping at times throughout the day, so it, you know, it does mute. And if you guys want to know anything about, like, say, the mech mod that I have here, this is the Saga Mini. I do have a video up on it, so if you need to or want to, go check it out. Badass little Saga mech mod. You know, usually I run 2 to 3 days without charging the battery on this thing. And anything that I put on it, even with the Valhalla, which, I mean, it overhangs literally just a hair, but that mech mod is a beast with anything that you can throw in a mech mod, and the Valhalla is just amazing on it. Now, Hammer of God is definitely by far the best. I didn't realize that I had faulty batteries inside of mine, and my Hammer of God ended up blowing up. So, on top of all of the stuff that I've showed you today and that I've taught you a little bit today, keep safe, quit smoking cigarettes. There's a lot better alternatives. You have a lot more money in your pocket. You have a lot more fun buying more devices and pissing around with them. There's a whole world out there of safer things. Nicotine is actually not addictive, but the chemicals that are put inside of cigarettes to go along with the nicotine is actually what kills you. There's a lot more better things to do with your time than waste $10 a pack of smokes. There's a lot of safer ways to be doing things in life. Also, when it comes to your mods, make sure your batteries are nicely wrapped. There's no nicks, there's no nothing. Your batteries will end up discharging, and then you'll have a very bad day. Make sure you always place your coils the right way. Make sure you always place your cotton the right way. Just make sure you are safe in life, and do what you got to do to be safe. Mox Opal out.